coming into like Thanksgiving, Christmas season. Isn't that crazy? It's insane. It's really hard to get into that vibe when you're in Florida because it just feels like summer. It's 90 degrees here. It doesn't actually get colder until probably January, January and February, and then it gets springtime again. But all right, September shout outs. What's we got so far? Let's see, 14 new Boss Babes added in the past 16 days. So congratulations to the ladies who added coaches onto their team, and welcome if this is the first time you've been on a team call. It was fun tonight. We had a sneak peek call with some of our leaders and had some really incredible girls on there that were interested in coaching. I'm super excited to have them on our team. All right, with coaches added to their team, we have Jessica Johnson, myself, Deborah, Lindsay, Vanessa, Megan, Lauren, Ashley C., and Ola Jackson. Congratulations. Next up, we have Success Club. So for any of you guys who are new, Success Club is the way that we measure how we are filling our challenge groups. Every month, our goal is to hit a minimum of 5. So it's typically 3 people added to your challenge groups each month. If you go above and beyond, then your business obviously grows faster. So on the board, we have Melanie, Deborah, Shirley, Amy, Lindsay O, Katie, Paige, Jessica J, Christina, Kayla, Lindsay D, Cassie Foster, Laura, Victoria, Amy, Jessica Morris, Megan, Lisa, Caitlin, Jennifer, Ren, and Ola. And then in Success Club, we have Blasia, Vanessa, myself, Ashley, Lauren, and in SC10, Miss Lauren Anderson, rocking it out. Congratulations, girl. Recognition. What's our recognition for tonight? All right, so a lot of you guys know we've been doing our Rise to Shine. It is a special group that you have to kind of earn your spot to get into. So this month, the way to earn your spot into this exclusive group is to hit Success Club 5 or more. And if you hit Success Club 5 or more, you qualify for it, but your personally sponsored, I guess it would be your diamond upline, would be the person that would be inviting you into the group. We only are allowed to bring 2 per month. And to be able to stay into this group, which really is a great motivation, we give out this really awesome Success Club tracker, which we've never used as a team before, but really this thing's baller. So you get that, you get a ton of different trainings that we will put into the pod. It's a group chat. And being able to just collaborate with these other leaders and these up and comers has really been an incredible experience. And so these are the girls who have pretty much graduated through the September group. The requirement to stay in is you sign 2 coaches every single month, and you continue to collaborate with us. And we have Megan with 2 coaches signed. Lauren has 2 coaches signed, and Ashley has 2 coaches signed. So congratulations for earning your spot in the next month. Our coach of the week this week is Kate Taylor. Congratulations, Kate. Love seeing her face on there. And then our top sponsor for the week is Ola Jackson. Congratulations. Something about them Jacksons. All right, super servant is the beautiful Blasia Rivet. And September Success Club leaders, we had a tie, so we like to put everybody's picture on there that had the top numbers for the week. Ola Jackson, Ashley C., Lauren Anderson, and Lisa Dougal. Congratulations, ladies. All right, announcements. I'm going to turn it over to Nicola.
Okay, so September 21st, the Unstress Meditation Program is going to be added to your member library. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to add it. It's just going to automatically upload. There is a training on the Beachbody Champions page on this program, which is Elisa's program. So I would encourage you to go over to the Beachbody Champions Facebook page, and then we will also have a link posted by tomorrow of a challenge group guide, how to promote the Unstress program, and things like that in a Google Drive for you guys. So be on the lookout for that link in Epic Empire. And then this past Tuesday, the 30-day breakaway sample workout was added to our back office, and there's actually two. The first one is the strength training part of the program, and then the second one is the actual running, so that they can put it on their phone and they can go running and be led by it. So it's actually a really good running workout. I tried it this week and I really enjoyed it. So make sure you're checking that out. And then for promo codes for the month of September, anybody that purchases a challenge pack in September will receive a promo code for 50% off the 30-day breakaway accessories bundle or digital streaming offer. So the promo codes will be valid through November. So make sure that you guys are leveraging that and using that for your advantage. So that's it.
Awesome. That's really cool that we're adding in, one, the meditation, and two, the 30-day breakaway, because I know that a lot of our prospects that we talk to, many of them are runners, and I think this is an incredible addition to the catalog, because that's an area in which I've always tried to connect with runners, and try to lead them to some sort of circuit training workout, one of our workouts they can do, maybe lift 4 or something like that, and then rotate it through their running schedule. But this is really catered to the person who just loves to run. So super excited about that. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty of tonight's call. Very pumped to have Beth on. We have a little bit of history together in terms of outside of Beachbody, but I met Beth in the pageant circuit back in the day, and just have always been in awe of her. I'm pretty sure her title was Mrs. United States, correct? Yes, I'm not real sure the year, but what year was it, Beth? You can unmute. We're very casual here, sorry.
Cool. I'm glad, because I'm in a sweatshirt with a mom button, so I was hoping that
There you go.
Yeah, that was 2014.
2014, Mrs. United States. So that was the year before that I even decided to get into the whole pageant circuit, but was just in awe of her. I thought she's beautiful and super fun. And then I remember, and I've told this story a couple times before we got on in like our coffee chats, and we talk about you being on the call. I remember it was Scotty Hobbs is your upline, correct?
In an indirect way, yeah.
Indirect way. I remember him messaging me and saying, okay, so I have this girl and she's a pageant girl, kind of like you. Like, can you maybe like come give her some tips or maybe help her out? And I was like, sure. And I think we went back and forth and talked a few times on IG, but it was just really cool. And then to see you being announced on the round table and all of your advancements, and now you're in the top 10 in the company, like, I am so proud of you. It's really, really cool to see you just take off in this business. And so I'm so excited for our team to get to hear from you tonight and what you're bringing to the table for them to have takeaways and actions that they can do to implement in their business. So I'm going to mute my line. You guys, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and then we'll ask Beth questions at the end. And not like, where are you going to be 5 years from now kind of questions, okay? Because she's retired pageant thing, and just kidding. All right, I had to throw that out there as a joke. All right, you got the floor, Beth.
Awesome. Thank you. I am so excited to be on this call. I'm gonna give you a little bit of like a really brief. I don't have an exciting like entry into Beachbody in terms of like how I found it and how I became a coach, but I do think that first of all, I'm a very like tactical, tangible type of learner and teacher, so I will be giving you like very specific like action items that I implement in my business as far as the invite, connect, follow up flow is concerned. But I think that a piece of my story that kind of plays into some of the takeaways that I want you guys to have from tonight is like a piece of my story kind of plays into that, if that makes sense. So like Jatana said, I've been coaching for 4 years in June. I've been like officially signed up, but you know, like you have your sign up date and then you have like your actual when you started to kind of coach and try to figure it out date. So I signed up in June of 2016. I found Beachbody in a really roundabout way. I was working at the University of Oklahoma, where I was also a full-time PhD student. And every day on my lunch break, it was like right around the time that I started doing pageants. And I long story short, have always really struggled with my health and fitness. And I entered my first pageant to literally force myself into shape. Like, if we're being totally transparent, I was riding in the car with my husband, and I was like, it was about that time of year where I really needed to lose the 12 pounds because I was getting a little uncomfortable. And I was like, I think I'm going to do a pageant. And he was like, excuse me? And I was like, yeah, I mean, what better way to force myself into shape than to do a pageant? Of course, like, the universe has a way of giving us things out of things that we never even intended to. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. But I entered for that reason. And so that kind of started this really vicious cycle of me dieting down for a pageant, or I even did a fitness competition one time. Not my jam, but I did it because, and I found myself like constantly looking for the next registration, if you will, to force myself into shape. And so I had a really unhealthy relationship with nutrition and exercise and all of the things. And I was working at the university, and because I was in doctorate classes, I would work from 7:30 to 5 every day, and then I would have grad classes until about 10 o'clock at night. So I didn't have time to go to the gym after I got home. And I wasn't about waking up earlier than I had to in the morning. So I would just go on my lunch break. I would walk across campus to the campus gym, and I would wander around like a lost puppy dog in the midst of all of these students, right? So I worked with this lady who did Beachbody programs, but I never heard of Beachbody. I had heard of like P90X and Insanity, of course, but I didn't know that they were Beachbody programs. And she harassed me for the longest time. She was like, look, you don't have to like walk over to that gym and like, you know, wander around and work out with the students and whatever. Like, I have a solution for you. And I was like, no. I kind of brushed her off for about 6 months. And then she just caught me on the right day at the right time. And I said, yes. My first program was the Master's Hammer and Chisel. And you guys know, because you're here, that when you commit to these programs, they change your life. And that's exactly what happened to me. So much so that whenever I completed that first program, I thought that I was retired from pageantry because I had won a national title. I'd like gotten everything out of it that I wanted. And a director of another system reached out to me right when I finished that program. And she was like, hey, you should compete in, because I'd moved to Oklahoma at the time, Mrs. Oklahoma. And I had gained so much confidence during the Hammer and Chisel program that without even having to like think about it or prepare physically for the competition, I just immediately said yes, because I was so proud of the fact that like I didn't have to prep for it physically, because I had created a lifestyle through that program. So I fell in love with the programs. The lady that was harassing me about doing the program with her, she was a coach, but I guess what we would consider like a hobby or a discount coach. So she never talked to me about the coaching opportunity. She didn't like actively recruit me to be a coach. But whenever those 60 days were over and I did the next pageant, I felt really lost. I didn't know what to do next. I had no accountability, like nothing. I felt really lost. So I watched YouTube videos. Get this. I finished that program in March. I signed up to be a coach in June. So the rest of March, April, May, and part of June, I watched YouTube videos on what it meant to be a coach. And I just signed up to be a coach. So I was like, oh, all I have to do is like open up this Facebook group and invite my friends and family to it, and they'll do this with me. Accountability is why I started this business with no upline. So Scotty Hobbs is that lady who's no longer in the business. So here's me, here's her. She had a coach who had a coach whose coach was Scotty Hobbs. So he just kind of like adopted me, if you will, and totally took me under his wing. But I tell you that because we know that inviting, right, connecting and inviting is our number one income producing activity. It's also the one that we tend to put on the back burner, that we shy away from for lots of different reasons, whether it's fear or overwhelm or not knowing where to start the process or whatever the case may be. But everything in this business is figure outable. But you won't figure it out unless you just start and try and fail forward. And I know that you guys know that, but I'm telling you that because I am proof that you can figure it out, right? And the system that I'm going to walk you through that I personally use and that I teach my new coaches is this system. But I oftentimes find that when I teach it to my coaches, they feel like it is this way or no way. Like if they can't figure out how to implement this exact process, then it's like the start stops them. So I want you to take the steps and the processes that I'm going to teach you that I personally use tonight. And I want you to know that you can apply it to your business in lots of different ways. And you can tweak steps and processes and pieces of the flow. But I think that there are some main takeaway points that I want you to kind of get out of this. And then I want to encourage you to just fail forward and try it. And if it doesn't work, find the gap and fill it. That's what I always tell my coaches. If something's not bringing you joy, if you're like inviting maybe is not super fun for you right now, but if it's literally stealing your joy and you can't find joy in the process of building relationships, connecting and inviting, then find a new way to do it, or you will get burnt out, you will feel overwhelmed, and you'll quit before you even give yourself a shot. So we're going to start with expanding. It's a pretty, what I would imagine is a common process of expanding your market. And then we'll focus more specific time on how I connect and kind of track or organize those connections. Because to me, connecting and building that relationship, like, it is the meat of this process, this flow that we like to call it, and then inviting and following up. So I do want you guys to make note of the fact that, to me, this is a very linear process, right? If you're not expanding your market and finding new people to connect with, you're not going to have new people to build a relationship with. And if you're not focusing on building a relationship, you're not going to have anybody to invite. And if you're not inviting anybody, you're not going to have anybody to follow up with. So I always like to say to look at it as a very linear process. And if you're struggling with sending invites every day, like if you've convinced yourself that you don't have people to invite, because it's a linear process, you can almost always take a step back and know that, okay, I'm not connecting with enough people. I'm not building enough relationships. And if you convince yourself that you don't have enough people to connect with, then we probably need to go back to expanding. So that's why I kind of like to look at it as that type of a process. So as far as expanding is concerned, kind of the first piece in the puzzle, and this is kind of the piece that I think is probably a pretty common practice. I always go to pages that have similar niches as mine. I used to, so for example, friends of friends, local shops, smaller accounts, or even bigger inspo accounts that you follow. Anybody who has followers that's going to have an audience or followers that are similar to you in some capacity. I always tell my coaches, you're not looking for somebody to do Beachbody with you. You're looking for somebody to do life with you who will also do Beachbody with you. And I think I think it's all about your perspective in terms of how you approach this process. Dictates a lot of how you navigate it. If you tell yourself that you're looking for somebody to do Beachbody with you, then it feels really weird, like getting on social media and like creeping for people, right? Or if you have told yourself that, oh, I'm only messaging this girl because I want to sell her a challenge pack, that feels really weird, right? And you're not going to be able to do that long term because it doesn't feel good. So you have to go into this entire process knowing that this is a relationship business, and I've been following Jatana for a long time, and I know how insane y'all's like team retreats and stuff are pre-COVID, and like how much fun you guys have and like all of the things. Think about it from that perspective. Like, you're looking for somebody that you want to have a slumber party with, because if they stick around long enough, you're probably going to have a slumber party with them. So just go to pages, make a list. I'll talk about collections and like saving things on Instagram. Also, I primarily work from Instagram. So you can of course apply some of these things to Facebook, but I'll be talking about Instagram specifically. You can save some of these pages, bookmark them, so that every day when you sit down to work your power pocket or your power hour, you know exactly where you're going to look for your people. So friends of friends, you have your pages, your inspo accounts that have similar niches as yours, so on and so forth. Now, I used to just click on the followers of that page, and I would just go through and like follow. What I have found to be more effective than that is by going to that page's or that person's most recent posts and connecting with their likers and commenters. Because the people who are liking and commenting on those most recent posts are obviously a little more active on social media. They're more apt to see that I'm connecting with them or that I'm following them, and then in turn reciprocate that relationship. So what I'll do is I'll go to the most recent post of that page or that person. I will go through the likers and the commenters, and I don't spend a lot of time here. This is where I'm trying to find as many people as possible that from a quick glance, I feel like they're my people. So this is like you can typically tell surface level by somebody's little circle profile picture on Instagram and their little bio blurb. Even if their page is private and you can't see their pictures, you can kind of glance at that and say like, okay, yeah, I think she could be my jam, or no, and then move on to the next person. If their page is private, this is a question I get all the time. Do you request to follow private pages? Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, my page was private before I started coaching and sharing my journey like openly with a lot of people. So the person that the girl that I'm trying to connect with probably has a private page, more than likely, unless she's in some other type of, you know, public business or social media business. So I always request to follow them, even if their page is private. If their page is not private and you can see their pictures, that just gives you more of a space to look at to determine if they're your people or not. So I don't spend any time connecting right here. I see coaches all the time, and on my team anyways, in this kind of piece of the process, they'll like, okay, so let's say that, let's pretend like Jatana is not a Beachbody coach and I'm going to her page and I know that like she is my jam, maybe Beachbody's not her thing, but her followers are gonna be my people. So I go to her page, I go to her most recent post, I'm going through everybody who's liked her most recent post. This is what I do. I click on the likes, I click on the name, follow, go back. Look at that person's picture, bio, doesn't really look like my jam, or it's a dude or whatever. So I don't follow, go back. If I set a timer for 10 minutes doing just that, like follow, go back, don't follow, go back, and I'm not connecting, I'm just expanding, I'm just following them, I can get through easily like 80 people in 10 minutes because I'm just following, right? So that's what I set my timer and I do. And you don't need a ton of time here. This is just you finding people to follow, and then you can move on to connecting with them. Okay, don't get wrapped up, for me anyways, I want you to just try this. Don't get wrapped up in the connection piece when you're following them or you're waiting for them to follow you back so you can see their page, because then you're not being, it's harder to be more effective with your time that way, if that makes sense. So that's the expanding piece. Now let's move into connecting, because this is where I want to spend the bulk of our time. So I need to first understand that, and I know that you guys know this because I learned like,
speaker. Oops.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Are we good? Okay, cool. Sorry. I learned almost everything that I know about Instagram and stories and sharing from your upline coach right here on this call. Like all of our YouTube videos about Instagram and stories and like everything. So I know that you know this, but I want to reiterate it. This expanding and connecting piece doesn't matter if you're not showing up consistently on social media. I'm talking about in your stories and on your feed, so that when you come to my page and you follow me and I get a little notification that says, I'm gonna pick somebody random, Lindsay has followed you. I'm gonna go, Lindsay, who's Lindsay? I'm gonna click on your page and I'm gonna very quickly, because of the way that you show up, be able to decide if I wanna follow you back. So content, like this is not a content call or an Instagram call, but it is the root of how you can move through this process in an efficient, effective way. Okay, so I wanted to just like caveat that with this. So then what I do, so you've spent 10 minutes, or I know we all like work our business in different types of cracks of time and things like that, but let's say that you've expanded for 10 minutes, and let's say that now you're in the carpool line when in-person school was a thing for everybody, and you have 20 minutes and you want to just focus on relationships and connecting with all those people that you have just recently expanded your market with. So what I do personally is I go into my Instagram, and I'll try to show my phone to you guys to see if you can see it. But if you have your phone, you can look at it, or you probably already know what I'm talking about. But I will go to my page, I will click on the following button at the top, like on my page where it says followers, following. I click on that, and then there's a little sort button right here where you can sort the people that you're following. I sort them by date followed latest. And this is gonna sort the people that I'm following by the most recent person that I followed, essentially. So this is where I spend the time, like this person that I just followed, I will click on their page, and then I'm really able to go in there and decide, okay, is this person my jam or are they not? And if they're not, it's okay. I'll just unfollow, go back to my list, and go to the next person. If I look at her page and I'm like, oh, I want to have a slumber party with this girl, or I want to do life with her and I want her to do this with me at some point after that relationship is built, then this is where you start connecting. Now, you guys have probably heard the term like 531, 311 method, all of that stuff. I kind of stopped using those terms because I feel like it's really easy to get in your own way about, I have to like 3 photos and comment on 2 and respond to 1 story or whatever kind of process that you use. And it kind of takes away, for me anyways, the authenticity of just building a connection with somebody. So if I see something on her page, or if she has a story that I'm really intrigued by, or that I want to respond to, or that I want to have a conversation around, then I will. If not, then I will just simply add her to a collection. I don't know if you guys are familiar with collections on Instagram. I use them like religiously because it totally is a system that works for me, but I kind of go through ebbs and flows of it working for me and it not working for me. So this is kind of a piece of that puzzle where I say, like, there's no right or wrong way to organize a collection, to use a collection. If you are a pen and paper kind of girl, go for it, like whatever works best for you. But what I like to do, just so that I can really be intentional about continuing to build those relationships and those connections, is I like to add that person that I really feel like I want to connect with or build a relationship with, to a collection. So often I found before I started using collections that I would go follow somebody and I would maybe comment on a picture or something, but I don't really track as far as like writing names down. I don't write people's names down or put them on in my tracker until the conversation gets to a point of where I feel like I want to invite them. So a lot of people that I really did want to build relationships with, they were falling through the cracks because I didn't have a way of like tracking them. And like I said, I can follow 80 people in 10 minutes by using that expanding process. And if I were to write down or to track all 80 of those people every single day that I did that, and then like go back after I decide if they're my people or not and cross them off, like it would be a nightmare. So I use the collection system once I decide if I do want to intentionally build that relationship, so that I'm able to track people. I don't want to say track people, that sounds weird. I'm able to have a space where I can continuously connect with that person with the hopes that it's being reciprocated, right? The goal here is for you to draw people to whatever piece of your page you get your business from. I like 99.9% of my business comes from my stories. So my goal is to get you to watch my stories. Like, you're going to get to know me, hopefully like me and trust me. If not, you'll unfollow me, but that's the goal. Get to know me, like me, trust me, find value in my page so that you tell your friends. Like, that's kind of the point here. So just in case you guys are not familiar with the collection thing, I'll use this as an example. So let's say, this is one of my coaches that just popped up in my feed, but let's say I went to my list and I went to following date latest. This is somebody that I just found from one of the pages that I follow, likers or commenters. I went to her page during this organizing and connecting moment, and I decided, like, yes, I want to be friends with her. She is my jam. So I'm going to like or comment or whatever feels authentic in building a relationship with her. And then I'm just going to take her latest post and I'm going to hold down the little saved tab. And then I'm going to either create a collection, or if I already have a collection started, and I'm just going to add her picture to that collection. Now, how I like to do my collections is I run them from the 15th of the month to the 15th of the month, which means if I'm in that, like if it's August 15th to September 15th, they go into my collection for my October boot camp. So it's labeled October boot camp, meaning if they are reciprocating the relationship and the connection is really being formed, I feel comfortable at the end of that 1 month window in inviting them to a challenge group. Like, it feels comfortable for me to invite them because of the relationship that has been built. But you will figure out if you do use the collection system, you will figure out ways that feels comfortable in terms of like how you're keeping track of everybody. But if it's between the 15th and the 15th, so like right now it's September 16th. So I'm adding to a November boot camp. So from September 15th to October 15th, everybody that I save to a collection will go into a November boot camp collection, and I will be inviting them to that boot camp throughout this period. Unless they're watching my stories and they're seeing my posts and they are starting to ask me about what it is that I'm doing, because I'm consistently doing call to actions and things like that. But this way, they're in a collection. I know whenever I set my timer for 15 minutes and I want to focus on building relationships, I can go straight into that collection and I can connect with all of those ladies that I recently followed that I want to build that connection with. And they're not falling through the cracks. Like, I'm not dropping the ball on my end of the relationship. And then I honestly, you guys, like I don't ever mindlessly scroll on Instagram. If I find myself like needing a brain break and like wanting to scroll, I go into the collections and I just scroll through all of those ladies that I'm really wanting to focus on building a relationship with. And if you spend your free cracks of time doing those things, then you will never run out of invites or follow-ups, and you will constantly be keeping that pipeline full of kind of what it takes to continuously be moving through this process and completing those income producing activities. When we talk about inviting, this is so oftentimes why I kind of thought through and really started focusing on teaching my team about how this is a linear process, because so oftentimes my coaches will say like, well, I just don't have anybody to invite, right? It's either the coach who like hits the ground running and they're like Success Club 10 or 20 their first couple months. And then they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like I was doing so great. And now I'm just sitting here like twirling my thumbs and it's the 15th and I don't have any Success Club points. Well, like you've run the well dry, right? You haven't kept your pipeline full. And so if you are finding that you can't spend 10 minutes inviting, or I know like you guys do push groups and stuff like that, or if your tracker or whatever kind of system you're following says, you know, send 15 invites, send 20 invites. And you're just like, excuse me, how? Unless I literally send cold invites to 20 people or 19 people, there's no way I can invite 20 people today, right? If that is what is your reality in the situation that you're in your business, we need to spend more time building relationships, because I could literally because I spend so much time connecting, I could spend 45 minutes sending invites to women that I've built relationships with that feels comfortable to invite right now. And that invite is as simple as like, hey girl, I totally thought of you today. I just opened up enrollment for my next accountability group or boot camp or whatever you call it. I really want you to do this with me. I don't know if you're looking for a health and fitness regimen, but we would have so much fun together. And I can say that comfortably and authentically because I've been following her. She's been following me. We've been talking to each other back and forth from our stories and about our kids and things totally unrelated to health and fitness. And I want to get her to know her better, which means she needs to be in my challenge group, right? And I want to have a slumber party with her, which means she needs to be a coach on my team. And that, when you come from that kind of a place of just like genuine relationship, connection, building perspective, and not, I want to sell you a challenge pack, you find more joy in the process. You want to do that. Inviting and building relationships is my favorite part of my business, as like outside of my team, because I'm building relationships with other incredible women that I just want to do life with me. And you have to find that kind of joy in this process, or inviting will feel overwhelming and daunting and it will scare you and you won't understand how this process works. And if you're not doing the number one income producing activity, you're not going to grow your business, period. And if you're not focusing on that, like the pipeline or the funnel or whatever you want to call it, then it's going to become empty, and then you're going to come to a standstill and you're going to start questioning your ability to do anything when that's not even the root of the problem, right? So we've expanded, we focus on connecting every day. And of course, like the amount of time that you spend doing each one of those things is dictated by, you know, your goals and your time and what your life looks like and all of the things. And then you just invite them, right? So I feel like my invites kind of come from, I'm going to say 2 different places. One of them's kind of, maybe 3. We'll see how it works out. But I go through those collections every single day, and I look at all the ladies in there. I think through the relationship that's been built, the conversations that have been had, and I will invite from there with an example of like what I just shared with you guys. Like, I thought of you earlier today. We would have so much fun. You should do this with me, kind of a thing. And then another way that I invite, and I call this like a soft invite, because maybe I haven't had like a full-blown conversation with this person, but if they're watching my stories and or liking or commenting on my posts, I know that they already see what it is that I'm doing, right? Because of the way that I show up. So then whenever I send, I'm going to explain in a second like what I send them, but whenever I send like this group of ladies this message, it feels comfortable for me because I know that they know what I'm talking about, and they obviously have gotten to know me a little bit. They like me at least a little because they've stuck around enough to like throw me a like or a comment or watch my stories. And I'm hopeful that they're in the process of getting to trust me, right? Like that's the goal here. So every single day, a non-negotiable in my business, regardless of whether the day has gone crazy. I know like right now is the most craziest time for a lot of us, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or you work for a school, or Lordy, if you're both, like life is crazy, right? back to school in 2020 is an insane situation, or whatever season of life you're navigating. So if the day goes crazy, it's important that you still go to bed. If you have goals with your business, which I'm assuming that you do, because most of you are probably Eastern time and it's almost 10 o'clock. So you have goals because you're here or you're watching this recording. You need to go to bed every night knowing that you moved your business forward at least a little bit that day. So if the day is going crazy and you don't have 60 minutes or however long you have built in to work your business, this is the one piece that I would say, make sure you do. And it is every single day I go into my stories and I look at the people that are looking at my stories and watching my stories, and I send a message like this to anybody that I'm not connected with. First of all, if you get a lot of story views, make sure that you haven't already sent them this message, because that could be weird. And then it's like, it's just gross and you don't want to do that. But I will send a message that's something like this. Hey girl, I just wanted to reach out and say thank you for supporting my content. I know some people just follow along for fun. Some people are interested in what I do. Regardless, if you ever want more info on a program, let me know. That's it. So it's like, thank you so much for supporting me. I'm not into, which I'm gonna hope that this doesn't offend anybody. I'm not into like the automated messages that are like, hey, thanks for following me. I am on a health and fitness journey. Are you on a health and fitness journey too? I don't connect with that when I get those messages. So I don't, and it's all about like your personality and what you connect with. What I would connect with is somebody reaching out to me and paying attention to the fact that I'm watching them and saying like, hey, thank you for supporting me. I'm glad that you're here. If you ever want more info, let me know. See how it's like a soft invite? It's not like, hey, you should join a boot camp. They're like, what the heck are you talking about, right? But instead, it's like, okay, they're glad that I'm here. And if they don't know what you're talking about, guess what they're probably gonna do? They're probably gonna go to your page and look at what you're doing, or look at the link in your bio or whatever. And maybe they only throw you back like a double tap. Maybe they say thank you. Maybe they don't say anything at all. But at least that door, in my opinion, if somebody's watching my stories, they have opened the door for me to send that message, right? Because they're watching me. So that is like the non-negotiable that I do every day in my business, is I go through people that are watching my stories, since I know that's where we're connecting on the deepest level. And I make some kind of touch point with my new story viewers or watchers. And you don't have to like say, I want you to say whatever feels right. For me, that's what feels right. Like if somebody were to come to, if I was having like a Beachbody open house or something, and somebody that I didn't know showed up, I would be like, thank you so much for coming. It means so much to me. If you want more info, let me know. If not, I'm glad you're here. Like that's what I would feel comfortable saying in person. So that's the kind of message that I send. And a lot of times people are watching you. If you're showing up consistently, they're watching you, and maybe they're just afraid or have some kind of fear holding them back from reaching out to you and asking you for information in the first place. So it's very hospitable. Look at it that way. If you're really nervous about reaching out to people, it's hospitable for you to be like, hey, you should join me. And then maybe the fear that's holding them back is something like, if I ask her for more info and she gives me more info and I'm still not ready to commit, like then I look like whatever, you know, the narrative that we tell ourselves in every situation, because I'm pretty sure everybody on here is probably a female, because we're human and because we're women, right? We just like consistently tell ourselves lies. So it is them opening the door because they're watching what you're doing already, and it's you just like tiptoeing through the door and letting them know that you're here for them. And then of course invites as far as like those connections that you've been built that we already talked about. And then following up, probably for me, the one piece of the puzzle that I think is really easy, well, I think all the pieces are easy to overlook for different reasons. But I think that following up with people scares us a lot of the times, because we're afraid that we're like nagging or harassing people or whatever. I have had, and maybe you don't feel this until you've experienced, but I have some of the top leaders on my team today are people that I've literally sent follow-up messages to 7 times in a row, and they ignored every single one of them. And then the right moment came, and I sent just like how I started my first Beachbody program. She talked to me for 6 months. I say harassed. I feel like that's like a little harsh. She asked me for 6 months continuously for me to join her. And it was, so I did Masters Hammer and Chisel January to March of 2016, the year that I signed up. Guess what happens in January? I needed to lose the 12 pounds that I gained over the holidays. And she asked me as I was walking out the door to go on winter break. And I was like, okay, fine. My jeans are too tight and whatever, like just give me your sinking program and I will do it. Okay. So she asked me for months, and all it took was her asking me on the right day at the right time for me to say yes. If you have confidence, and I feel like there's different levels of belief in this business, belief in the products, belief in the business, and belief in yourself. You obviously have belief in these products and this business because you're on a team call of an incredible team, but maybe you just need to like focus and foster the belief in yourself piece. But if you have the belief in the products and you're genuinely just sharing something that you love and you genuinely want to have a slumber, I say slumber party, it's like kind of childish, but you know what I mean? Like you want to do life with this person, then why would you not ask them until they say yes? Knowing that on the other side of that yes could be a new best friend or a new business partner or, you know, whatever the case may be. So, there's like a little phrase that you always hear, like the power in the follow-up or whatever. It is so true, because that most of the time is going to be where your yes comes from. But if you're not inviting people because you don't have enough connections built, because you're not expanding your market or your audience, you'll never get to the follow-up where the yes comes from. So, that's it as far as the process is concerned. I made like a couple little bulleted points of some takeaways that I wanted to like make sure that that you guys really took away from this outside of the organizing and collection piece. And that is, if nothing else, that this is a linear process. Oftentimes you have to reverse engineer where you feel stuck at. So like I talked about earlier, if you feel stuck at the inviting phase, maybe we need to spend 40 of our 60-minute chunk of time connecting. And if you don't have enough people to connect with, or if you're not getting new eyes on your content, then maybe we need to focus on content and expanding, because it all starts with your content. People are not, I have coaches tell me all the time, like, I spent 30 minutes following and connecting with people and only one person followed me back. And I'm not saying it's a content issue, but it could be. So like, let's take a step back even further and look at how you're showing up and what you're sharing. And are you creating content that is connecting with other people? I like to think of it as like we'll use some props here. Like we all have a little cup, right? Or a little bucket. I call this my Me Too bucket or my Me Too cup. Whenever, and not every post has to take you 45 minutes to write where you're like getting really vulnerable and sharing like a piece of your life. But for the ones that you do that on, that you're really trying to speak to, I always say, I try to speak to the Beth that I was 4 years ago before I found Beachbody. And when I'm speaking to her through my posts and my stories, I want the Beth from 4 years ago that's reading my post to be able to put a little deposit in her Me Too bucket. I want her to read my post, listen to my story, and say, oh girl, me too. Because guess what happens? The more deposits that she puts into that Me Too cup or that Me Too bucket, she will get to a point where she's like, okay, I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid you're drinking, but I need some because like I feel you, kind of thing. So it's a linear process. Always reverse engineer where you feel stuck. And in the same breath, if you see a gap in your business, you guys, there's always going to be something to learn, right? Like 4 years into this, however long Jatina's been coaching, I'm sure she can attest to the fact that you learn something new every day. It's part of owning your own business and navigating a journey that is really hard for a lot of us, and helping other women navigate a journey that's really hard for a lot of them. So if you see a gap in your business, fill it. Like just fill it. Figure if you struggle with creating content, learn more about social media, or learn more about sharing your story or crafting your story or creating a vision, or wherever you're struggling, fill the gap. It's not a one way or no way. So if you try this collection thing, or if you try this expansion piece and you're like, okay, that stole all my kinds of joy. And there's a difference in something stealing your joy and something just being a little uncomfortable, right? So be honest with yourself about that. Then find a new way to do it. It goes back to finding the gap and then filling it. It all starts with your content and how and what you're sharing and how you're showing up. And always, always, always remember that this is a relationship business and that you are expanding and inviting people to do life with you and also do Beachbody with you. And that's all I got. I talked as fast as I could.
That's all you got? What? Just kidding. Oh my gosh. Okay, I took a bunch of notes. And I have a couple questions, and maybe some of the girls have questions. If you want, you can post them in the chat or unmute your line. But one, because the linear example it's classic, and it is true, tried and true, timeless. You know what I mean? Like that is 100% the way we should be looking at our business. And I know I mentor different coaches on our team, and they'll say those different pinpoints on that line where they're stuck. And I'm like, okay, let's go back and make sure all these other pieces are being fueled properly so that you don't get stuck in that one spot on your line. So I love that. And this call was amazing and it's recorded. So I'm so glad. We're going to put it in our team training because that was really, really good. What tracker do you use? Do you have a specific tracker that you love?
Tracker as far as like how I keep track of people, like invites. Let me show you. I have it right. It is called a spiral notebook.
Yes, my kind of girl. That's exactly how I am.
Probably something that I should have mentioned. I think I like briefly skimmed over it. I don't put somebody's name. I am a pen and paper girl, but not when it comes to like tracking 80 people a day. Like it's just not feasible, like I mentioned. So I track my connections in Instagram. But the second that somebody, even if they're not in my collection, if they respond to a story about a meal, or if they ask me what my shake is, anything that has to do with any product or program that I'm doing, or anything that is health related, or even morning routine related. I get a lot of questions about my morning routine. Their name goes on the paper because that's them telling me in a roundabout way that they're interested in something that I'm doing. And as far as the collections are concerned, the second that the conversation gets to an invite, I put them on my tracker, my spiral notebook. But otherwise they stay digital, but they move to the paper the second that they show any interest in any piece of what Beachbody has taught me to do. So like the morning routine, obviously that's not like a challenge pack, but coaching has forced me to craft a morning routine for lots of reasons. I know that that's something that I can help them with through being a part of my group. So I just, yeah, I'm a pen and paper, like spiral notebook kind of girl. Real fancy.
Love it. No, that's perfect. You got to do what works best for you. Okay, so you can you walk us through the collection thing again? Because I was taking notes and then I looked up and you had already shown what you do, and then my phone died. So
Let me pull it up so I can show you.
did everybody see how she did it? I didn't see it at all, so I was looking down. I know you said to hold your finger on the picture, but mine does like save, comment, or like, comment, and
okay, yeah. Let me create a simple one to show you. Okay, so
sorry, I should have paid attention.
I showed it super briefly. I don't think I like walked through the entire process of like how to. So you can, I'll just put one of my pictures in there. Okay, so first of all, you have to create a collection. So if you go on your Instagram profile, these top 3 lines up here, if you click on that, you'll see saved. Hopefully if you have one of your own posts saved, whatever. And then there's a plus sign up here. You click on that, you can create a new collection. So like you can label this one October Boot Camp or whatever. Or I used to use a process that was, I had like a connecting folder, an invite folder, and a follow-up folder. So it's just like whatever system works best. And then let's say that I came across this girl's page from going through the likers and commenters and whatever, and I love her and she's great and I want to keep building a relationship with her. So I just hold down the flag on her latest post. Okay. And you see my November boot camp or October or whatever. Add her straight to that collection. And then whenever you go back to your saved and I go into my October and November boot camp, and I know that I need to go connect with her to invite her to October.
Very good. That's very similar, I think, to what Alina had described, right, with the albums. Very cool. All right. That's definitely in my to-do. Another question I have one more. Any questions from you guys that maybe you have for Beth? Megan, Melinda, Holly. Now everybody's being quiet tonight. Lindsay left. I was going to say, what part of Oklahoma were you from? Because Lindsay's was from Oklahoma. What were you going to ask, Megan?
I was going to say I may have more questions, but I want to go back and watch the beginning so that I can get all the details and formulate my thoughts.
Thank you. Megan's also Mrs. Washington, like 2018 or something like that.
Cool.
Oh, what? You're it again? Like, are you doing it again? Or you don't want to say that? Oh my goodness.
I have a question. So what does your typical day look like as far as your schedule being a coach?
So my schedule has changed drastically from that. I've navigated a lot of seasons of life since being a coach. So whenever I started, I was full-time PhD student working full-time. So I actually woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get my workout done, do my PD, and work my business because, like I mentioned, I went to the gym on my lunch break, and then I was in grad class till 10 and got home at 11. So that's kind of where my morning routine situation kind of started. I have navigated being a new mom, and now I have an 18-month-old and am home full time. Something that I really struggled with after I had my daughter was not having like a focused, I could show you guys like the schedule that I work from on a daily basis, and you probably would think I'm a little psychotic, but I can totally show you if you want to see it. I found myself feeling like I wasn't being super present with her. I wasn't being a present mom or a present wife because I was trying to work my business in not even cracks of time throughout my day, but like all day at random times that weren't scheduled or planned. And so I was kind of, I'm just going to say half-assing. I hope that's okay. I was like half-assing everything because I couldn't give anything my focus time. And I don't know if this is, if you're into Enneagrams, I'm a really hard Enneagram 3. I'm super type A. So like I need a game plan. I'm really organized. And so I was just allowing myself to like fly by the seat of my pants and figure out like how to fit my business in, which worked for a hot second. But we've had a lot of growth over the past year. And so I found myself not feeling any kind of joy when I was working. So what I do now is my daughter typically wakes up at about 8:30. And so on a normal day, I wake up at 5 and I do my workout, and I get about a solid 2 or 2.5 hours of actual work done in the morning before she even wakes up. She's awake from about 8:30 to 1, and then I have about a 2.5 hour nap time window where I will do more work. And then if I have calls and stuff, that's safe for the evening, but I try to unplug after, like before dinner and stuff like that. I will say that as far as how I work my business now, so what is that like? About, including my workout, about 3.5 hours in the morning and about a 2.5 or 3 hour, like my nap time hustle window. I always do like my business stuff. Like if you're leading a team, it's really easy to pour everything into your team because you love them and you're excited for them and kind of forget, you like neglect your own business for a hot second, that piece of your business. So in the morning, it is like me and my business. So I do my personal development, I do my workout, I do what you would call like the income producing activities, the expanding, connecting, inviting, following up, all of contributing to my challenge groups and creating content and stuff for them. That's my morning 3 to 3.5 hour block. My nap time hustle is my team stuff, assuming that I finished all of my personal business stuff in the morning. So that's like anything and everything for my team, or if there's anything that I need to go back and do for my own personal business, if that's helpful.
Thank you so much. That's great. That's good information. I'm struggling right now trying to be home and make my set schedule because I feel like I'm just on the phone all the time trying to it's taking control of me. And then I feel like I get nothing done. I'm spinning my wheels.
I feel like that feeling will paralyze you, like for sure. And so what I was going to say, I could show you guys this. I can just explain it. It's an Excel document that I use. And every Sunday I plan out my week. And then every night before the next day, I go in there and I use it like a time blocking system. So it goes from 5 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, because that's when our team call is the latest on Monday nights. And it's 30-minute time chunks. And I literally schedule in everything. Now, I think just as important as scheduling in everything, like if you know that, like if you're virtually schooling or whatever, and the kids are going to be home at this time and this time, instead of feeling like you can squeeze like a 30-minute or a 60-minute working your business section in that moment, and then because the kids are home or whatever's the situation and they're like all crazy, and then you don't get it done, so then you feel discouraged, and then you chalk that entire day up to no progress. I would encourage you to like pick time specific to when you can lock yourself in a room or in a closet or whatever and pour into yourself and or your business, so that regardless of what happens when everybody else is around and external factors take control over your day, you can at least know that you've done a little bit. And I think also too, just as important as scheduling those things in a really specific way, for me, it's also about giving myself grace, right? I have an 18-month-old. Sometimes she wakes up at 7 o'clock and sometimes she sleeps till 10:30. And if she wakes up at 7 and I have an hour and a half worth of work left, I can beat myself up about it all day and not get any of it done the rest of the day because I'm like wallowing in my pity party and I'm probably going to eat a pint of Bluebell before I go to bed. Or I can just like, I think the most important thing is being the most present with whatever piece of your life you're working on or navigating at that moment. So I put it away, I mom, and then during nap time, I'm like, okay, those 3 things I didn't get to get done this morning because she woke up early. Those are my top priority right now. And then I move on to the rest. And guess what? When I go to bed, if they didn't all get done, the lower priority items roll over to the next day. And then giving yourself grace, still having a game plan, and like finding the balance between those 2 things so that you don't paralyze yourself because it's so overwhelming too. Like you're not ever going to be in a season of life where all the pieces are moving perfectly unless like, I don't know, like I want to talk to you if that's the case for you, because every season of life I've ever been in, of course, like things are way more crazy right now probably than they ever have been before or a lot of times, but you have to rely on knowing that like not every piece of the puzzle is going to be moving perfectly at all times. So it's like having a game plan, but still being flexible and giving yourself grace, I think is the most important thing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Very good. No wonder you won the pageant. You're really good at speaking. You can answer questions really well. And you're gorgeous. I get it. What part of Oklahoma are you from? Or do you live in?
So we live just south of Oklahoma City in a town called Blanchard.
Okay. Lindsay, you're from Oklahoma, right? Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, an amazing team call. Beth, you like brought it. That was probably one of the most incredible calls we've had in a while. So we really, really appreciate you jumping on. It's so fun seeing you shine. We are cheering you on, girlfriend. Keep doing what you're doing. And you guys make it a great evening and get your workouts in tomorrow. Bye, y'all.